up, YouTube? It's your girl Grace back with another video. Today I'm here with
Rudy Jackson.
And we have a special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
For those who don't know, my name is Kevin Samuels. I talk shit.
Love that. Really quickly, can you just give a brief explanation of what you do?
Other than talk shit.
Right.
Yeah,
well, actually, I'm an actual image consultant. But that's not what I became really kind of known for. I became known for talking to women about what the kind of men they want from women. I spent the better part of 3+ years helping men with their image, women with their image and style. But what I noticed is there was a disconnect between this group of people on their grind and this group of people on their grind. And I spent 3 years talking to men, but the disconnect was they weren't able to meet one another. So when I started talking to women, one thing led to another. Average at best happened, and here we are.
Yeah, I always do feel like women and men are on such different pages when it comes to just a lot of things, and it's very hard to meet in the middle with that. So is that something that you help people with, or?
Well, the big disconnect is, even on my way over here, I'm on a phone call talking to a friend about what I do, and the driver's like, yeah, man, I went through such and so forth. It's the fact that men know what's going on, but if you were to talk about it, you get canceled. Men can't really say what they want other than Mother, Queen, Goddess, Sea Moss Gold, you're everything, and let's sell you these products or services or books. But if a man says, you know what, you're not feeling the fact that you may look or have this or that, cancel.
Yeah.
So, if you're a man who has to work or have the business to run, if your business isn't around that, why even offer your opinion? So what happened with me, I'm not saying anything that guys aren't saying on the basketball court, in the barbershop, country club, anywhere I go, across any race, men have been saying these things. The difference is when I don't want to trigger the algorithm, when the thing happened and everybody was locked down, started having these conversations, so everybody's right there, and then I happened to say something, and it just became this thing. And the good thing is, after the shock, because there was a lot of damn shock with women, more than we've ever seen, it started a conversation between women and men, and between women and women, and we're still going on today. So overall, it's a good thing.
So you started mostly during quarantine, doing lives and stuff? Is that how the social media stuff mostly started?
We started doing live streaming back when it was Google Hangouts in 2017. But it was on a little corner of the internet. But everybody was out doing what they were doing. YouTube was still pretty much pre-recorded content. When we were locked down, everybody was at home 24/7. And, people couldn't go to studios. So you had folks like myself who were already doing this kind of situation to where there was a time where you couldn't even get these cameras or these microphones. Everything was Mac ordered. So a content void was filled. So I even watched my show grow from 1,000 people watching to 3,000 to 5,000. And then, funny enough, I came to LA. I didn't want to come to LA. On the time I didn't want to come to LA, a show I didn't want to do, I took a phone call I didn't want to take, and it became this thing. And at one point, it became a place kind of for everybody to kind of join. And you went from 3,000 to 5,000 to 35,000 people watching. So obviously, it's much bigger than Kevin. I'm not arrogant enough to think it's about me. I ain't that much.
But I think you do touch on subjects that are very, taboo for most people, but they're important for people to talk about, because like you said, men are talking about these things behind closed doors, but they don't want to offend women in a certain way. But it's if that's how men are really thinking and feeling, I think we would like to know, so I'm glad you're bringing stuff to light in that way.
Well, it's the things that the numbers. One thing I do use is a lot of facts, data, statistics, information that people can look up themselves, but then people can see their own lives and recognize that, wait a minute, I'm X years old, and I thought by this time I would have had this level of relational success. We're talking about people who have had varying degrees of success in their professional lives, but single as hell, with no real prospects. So, as an aside, do we curse here or do we?
Yeah, whatever you want to say.
So And especially with black people, it's like even worse because we're married at less than a 30% rate. So it's like, well, everybody wants to build these businesses and I want legacy and this and that. I'm like, all right, well then, but we're all single and unmarried with no kids or on visitation, and that's just not how you build anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a conversation that needs to happen, but it really is going to happen with women kind of understanding what the men they want. Mm-hmm. And that's what really sparked a whole lot of stuff. I talk about stuff like weight, kids, options, and yeah, it's been a ride.
Speaking of that, in a recent video, you said a woman has a special place in this world and it's in a man's psyche. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Yeah, so I say a man is the best version of himself when he's confident, intelligent, and assertive. So I say CIA, not on some ops or pitch. Then I say a woman is in her best place when she's feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. FBI. That I is important. A woman has a muse-like effect on a man. I mean, every man in here is going to get out here and get his. Do what he has to do, but we have a tendency to get cool, get comfortable. We could. I mean, we don't need much. We're pretty simple. But there are things that women can do for a man that only a mother and your lady can do. It's kind of like, as a boy, a father can do stuff with his voice to a young man that you can say whatever you want. All you got to do is say, hey! That boy jump up. And I think a lot of women have not tapped into the power of their femininity, soft power that can get this world to do whatever. I mean, we're in LA. Mm-hmm. All these buildings, air conditioning, the SUV that I rode up in, these high-rise apartments, we don't want all that. Y'all like that shit. We built this for y'all. That's the effect you have on men. If not, if a man could have the kind and quality of woman, the frequency he wanted, with minimum output, we'd still be living in caves and huts and tents.
Well, yeah, I think that a lot of women interpret some things that you say as, disrespectful towards them and whatever. But what you just said right there is, what I'm saying, kind of the ultimate respect to women. That's saying, we do have the power, but we just kind of don't use it in the right way and balance it in the right way. You know what I mean?
Well, in the 60s, this was marketed. In the 60s, a magazine came along called Playboy. Hugh Hefner. He wanted to take the girly magazine and nudies and all that stuff and make it cool. So he made the Playboy lifestyle for a young, jet-set corporate guy in the city. Well, they saw all the magazines and stuff being sold and all the ads being sold. The counter to that was Cosmopolitan magazine. And the Cosmopolitan was supposed to be Playboy for women. And the Cosmopolitan lifestyle was marketed to be young, corporate, or business, free, independent, not married. And all this stuff was geared to sell women's products. And one of the things was delayed marriage and contraceptives. There was a book written called Subverted, and it chronicles how Cosmopolitan and that kind of thing, they use third wave feminism to kind of market this lifestyle of independence. So what does it do? If you got men over here living this jet set Playboy lifestyle, you got women over here living this Sex in the City Cosmopolitan lifestyle, those two people
don't match up.
Well, they match up in the corporate world. We'll go to happy hours together.
Yeah.
But we won't, it's a power struggle.
Yeah.
It's a power struggle. And then here's the thing. You're coming more over into a masculine world where, all right, you want to come over here and compete and free love and free sex, but men don't look at our mates like that. Mm-hmm. It's like wife and everything else. So that's the disconnect. So it's the whole boss chick, bad bitch, such and so forth, and then wife. It's very hard to balance all those things. And in a world where women spend 73 cents out of every dollar, it's talked about to tell women you can have it all. And I came along and said, you can't. You got to make some choices and trade-offs. And that's what was kind of a shock, because for the last 40 years, you've been saying you can have it all. Well, then show me where that happens, and it doesn't.
Okay. Do you think men can have it all?
Men know life is about choices and trade-offs. We can't have it all. We can get what we can pay for.
So you think it's kind of like an illusion built that's unrealistic for women?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because women make their decisions. Women, they're exceptions to every rule, but women tend to run their logic through their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to sell products and services to women, you tell them stories. So the story of you can have it all, then why is it that we see the women, that's in something I call the industry, athletics, entertainment, and music, women who are at the top of the industry, why aren't they marrying men who are at the top of them? Why are they typically marrying what you would call down? Because men at the top have always married down. But the problem is, if we're a CEO, we don't mind marrying a barista. A woman who's a CEO, if she marries a barista, it's called
people are gonna, yeah, for sure.
So it's like, if when a man is a shot caller, if you're out here, you got it like that, you're expected to pay. Okay? But if a woman has that, and if she has to pay for a man, that's what wasn't told. Do you want the man that comes along with that? Because that dude is different than the kind of guy that you may be sexually attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
And those two guys, you rarely find all that
in one person, exactly.
Also, to bring that, topic about, you had a recent video where you said, do high value men deserve to cheat? So can you also just briefly describe your stance on that?
High value men, first off, the biggest video is high value men don't cheat, they exercise options. One, it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory, but the reality is, if a man is in the top 10% of earners, if a man can attract women who are 8s, 9s, and 10s, he can also attract women who are 4s, 5s, and 6s. Chris Rock once said, a man is only as faithful as his options. Now, this has always happened. Go back to the time of monarchies. They always had the queen, but then you had what? Concubines.
What is that?
A legal...
Like prostitutes?
Well, only for the king, though. And then you've always had brothels. There was always a certain amount of men who were locked out of meeting. And it's like, anybody ever watch Game of Thrones? Mm-hmm. Okay, the Baratheons. Robert Baratheon was married to Cersei, but he had all these bastards. It's always happened. When you're in the top 20%, top 10%, men have always had access to all the women. The question is, how is it done? That's the real problem. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't just make this stuff up. I talked to women who are married to men of a certain caliber, and they will tell you, yeah, this has always happened. But it's just, the big things are usually 3 basic rules. Don't bring home any diseases, no outside babies, no alternative lifestyle stuff.
What does that mean?
Well, usually women don't want men sleeping with men.
Okay.
So, and the fourth one is, don't be spending no real money
on your mistresses.
Because that's how men cheat. Because let's say you're my wife, and let's say you're my side chick. We can do what we do. Well, you're my wife and you're my side chick. We can do it either way. We can do it either way. You're both my wife, you're both my side chick. We can do it either way. But here's the thing. If I'm kicking it with my wife and doing what I'm doing with my wife, and I have my side chick, there's rules. And you do sit down and talk to your woman about what are the rules. Mm-hmm. I've said this to women. Have you talked, you're probably not broadcast, have you talked to your man about the rules? Because, let's go on there. Here are the rules. If I'm just kicking it with you, whether it's 5 years, 6 months, or 10 years, I can't buy you a house like I buy my wife a house.
Right.
You can't have the kind of cars, so there's a level, but somebody's name is on the insurance policies and everything else like that. That's how you know who's this. And women, honestly, balk about it in person when they're around other women, but when they get offline, I get the emails, the DMs, yeah, you're 100% right. That's right. We were just so no cap. Women are good with this.
Yeah.
The main thing is most women want the truth.
Yeah.
You want, and that's where a lot of men fuck up.
Is lying.
Lying. Don't lie. Be honest. And if she want to fuck with you, she'll fuck with you. If she don't want to fuck with you, give her the option.
This is a common subject that we have on here because, we have a lot of models. We have people from all sides of the industry. And I feel like this comes up almost every episode because it's like girls, like a lot of the girls say, though, they know, okay, if I'm signing up to talk to somebody that's, has access to any girl they want, I know what I'm signing up for and I'm open to it as long as the person's honest with me about what they're doing and what the situation is and what are the rules and what are the boundaries.
See, and that's what a lot of guys, especially if you don't come from money, so you didn't come from these power rules. So this is where a lot of guys screw up because they don't sit down and say, here it is. And then give her an option to decide, because one of the worst things we can do as men when you're exercising your options is let the shit go public. That's sloppy, because then she's got to do something about it.
I would add to your little, not that I'm saying I would want to be in a relationship where I'm cheated on, but I would add to those things of don't get any STDs, don't get someone pregnant, is don't embarrass me. You know what I'm saying? Don't let people.
That's in the list.
Yeah.
That's in my list. It's all right. No kids, no STDs, no substantial money, and no public or private embarrassments. Basically, out of sight, out of mind. So the way it used to happen is, let's say you're in New York, you live in Connecticut. You Monday through Friday, you're in the city, working. You go home on the weekends. Who do you think's staying in that apartment by himself? There are guys on Wall Street right now who have go to every Tuesday at the St. Regis and they see their girl.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't bring it home. There is the wife, there's the executive assistant, and there's the mistress.
Do you think that
Well, the executive assistant for many powerful men is the work wife. You've not heard that?
I haven't.
Well, let me tell
not
you.
me.
Okay, if you're a CEO of a Fortune 2,500 company, all right, the most important person to the man is his assistant. It's a woman. Anybody watch Iron Man?
Yeah.
Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts is the executive assistant.
Girl, I haven't seen that shit.
Well, the first Iron Man, Tony Stark goes out and he does what he does, and he meets this reporter, and he takes her back to the Malibu estate. Who does she see the next morning? Here's Pepper Potts taking out the trash, her included. She knew everything. What did she become? His wife, because she was the one who he trusted more than anything else. So the executive assistant and the wife tend to be really close. You would be amazed at how many executive assistants are buying y'all's your anniversary gifts,
right?
Everything else. And if the executive assistant ain't buying it, damn sure Kelly is. Kelly's the sugar baby.
Yeah. Oh.
Sugar baby, mistress. You know, it's a different term. You know, today it's called sugar baby, but it's always been the same.
But there's definitely mistresses who aren't getting any money or anything like that.
Well, yeah, but then you got to ask why.
Right. Okay, on another note, we noticed that, you know, you got a nice suit on today. You always tend to dress nice, wear a suit. What's your fashion inspiration, and why do you feel the need to always be dressed up?
I'm an image consultant. And I got pictures of me when I was 5 years old, and I'm in a 3-piece suit. This is how I was raised. I do. I'm dead ass. This is how I was raised. And I am comfortable in a professional image. But if you just saw me yesterday, even my dress down look is still more dressy. Because when I was coming up, boys dressed this way. There was teenagers and there was men. There's a progression. And one of my biggest problems today is, where does manhood start? If I see a lot of 40-year-old men next to their 5th grade son, and y'all dressed the same. So it's like, you have to have something to aspire to, and it doesn't have to be a suit, but there needs to be a uniform. The bottom line is, human beings, our minds work on archetypes. So if you're out here on the street and some shit goes down, boom, a big explosion, and there's somebody sitting in the policeman's uniform. If you want to know what's going on, there's a bunch of people. You're going to automatically run over to the cop and ask what happened. Why? Because of uniform. Or if there's not a man in a police uniform, you see a man in a suit, you're going to likely ask him because he's probably in charge. Archetypes.
No, that's true.
That makes a lot of sense. But who would be your fashion inspiration, would you say?
Well, it's my style leans a little bit more European. There are 9 archetypes. A lot of black men's style is a little bit more classic Americana. So you think of Ghost of Power, Idris Elba, in Stringer Bell and The Wire, Barack Obama, Hickey Freeman. It's a lot of men and senators and things like that. I'm more of a cross between a little bit of that and like James Bond, like Sean Connery, Daniel Craig. It's more English tailoring. So it's basically simple, monochrome, black, white, basics. But then the converse for women is Chanel. Basics, black, white, beige, very simple, classic. So you pick up any time frame. So you pick up a magazine from the 60s, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, JFK, all kind of look the same. Take it 50 years before that, similar. So classic American.
Yeah, obviously the way you present yourself is a huge thing, but do you think that is the most important thing, like, about a first impression of someone? Or do you think, you know what I'm saying, even if you see someone and the cover isn't exactly how the personality is, does that matter more?
It's not what I think, it's what's been proven. So the first 7 seconds, people make up to 11 different assumptions about you that stick.
What are those 11 assumptions?
Education level, level of sophistication, level of attractiveness, gender identity, some of the other ones. But they all kind of happen, and they happen in the subconscious. It's evolutionary biology. If you think about it, when people have had to evolve to make snap decisions, or your survival is on the line. So if we know this stuff, and the science has been proven, and psychology today has been written about, perused over, I would say use what already works versus trying to just be a rebel and do your own thing and then spend the next 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years trying to overcome negative confirmation bias.
Right.
So, today we're telling people to be so individual, but human beings have evolved to make decisions based upon archetypes. And I just use I'm one type of person, I just use what works. And if you want to do your own thing, you better have enough power to make that work. And most people don't.
That's true.
And then as far as like growing your platform, like how did you hit your targeted demographic? You know what I'm saying? Like mentoring men and whatnot.
Well, I come from the advertising side. So
Okay.
Like anything else, before I got onto YouTube, I asked myself, who am I talking to?
Mm-hmm.
I had an ideal client. My man is 30, making $75,000 or more, single, lives in the city. And that's who I made my content for. I also looked at what was already working with other big content creators. Then I looked at what we're working with some of the more smaller content creators and collaborations, very important. Studying the algorithm. Most people don't study the algorithm. And they worry about the content. And the most important thing outside of going viral is the thumbnail and the title. You should spend as much time, if not more, on the titling and on the thumbnail. Mm-hmm. And then the big thing is, once you have the content going, you have to collaborate, work with other people, and then look at your algorithm and your analytics to see what's working and do what works.
I feel like a lot of influencers and stuff don't think about the science of it so much and the exact details like that, and actually study, how it works. So I think that's good advice for upcoming influencers. And your target market, you listed exactly so specifically who you were trying to target, and I think that's important too. You got to know your niche, and you got to know your target market, and you got to make content that is geared towards that.
I think more the analytics will tell you who's watching you, and then you have a choice. You can either say, like, what I came to YouTube to do was talk about image, and then that's its entire thing. Like, fashion is different than beauty, right. And I was in two, so I'm split. So
which way do you want to take it?
Right. The people who wanted to hear my fragrance stuff didn't necessarily want to hear my style stuff. People who want to hear my style stuff didn't want to hear my fragrance stuff. But the market said, screw all that. We want to hear you talk about this. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I can be a rebel and stay over here, or I can talk about this and then slide some of this other stuff in there. So every time you come see me, you see me dressed the way I want to be dressed. And I still talk about this, I still talk about that. But I respond to the market. You have to meet the market where it is.
Mm-hmm. So you said you came from the marketing side. You used to do internet sales. When did you and how did you convert to image consulting coming from that?
Well, my entire background is corporate sales. But when I was in advertising, I sold SEM, SEO, so search engine optimization, search engine marketing, yellow pages, direct mail, and I did that for big companies. But then like most people, you realize you're making everybody else rich and you're just working yourself to death. Spin off, formed a little boutique agency with some friends, and I ran the sales and PR side. So my job was to go get the clients. And then it was to work on, damage control or making a better corporate brand image. Well, one client had about 40% of our annual spend, and she was going to have to take that away because she was being promoted, put up for a possible judgeship. And when somebody tells you they're going to take 40% of your money away, that hurts. So we're sitting there, and basically she's like, well, but I don't know how to dress for this. I've never done that. You're always so well dressed. Is that something you can help me with? I'm like, yes. So I just said yes, and I went out to my car and I went and searched, what is it when you do such and so forth? And a video popped up, image consultant. And there was a video called How I Became an Image Consultant by Aaron Moreno, Alpha M. And it's funny, I looked at that video and I said, he went from being a personal trainer to an image consultant. So I took that, did some homework, and the rest is history. And what's funny is he's still the top men's style channel, but he watches me now.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
Do you feel like with image consulting, like, is it hard to draw the line between where, like obviously your job is to give people constructive criticism to help them, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like a lot of people don't take that well. So how do you give people advice without like kind of hurting their feelings, or you just don't care if you hurt their feelings?
I don't care in general. I mean, I care. I'm human.
No, yeah, but
you'll watch my videos and notice that there's sometimes that people expect me to really go all in, and I'll pull way back. I generally match energies. Mm-hmm. So, like, if I do this for a long time. I got a lot of training. I've gone back to get continuing education. I've gone back to learn how to talk to more at-risk groups. Like, I don't want to say certain words, but you're always learning. So you have to be good at active listening. You have to be able to make good evaluations. But at the end of the day, I'm not a therapist. I'm a consultant or a coach. So if you've ever played any sports or anything like that, when was the last time you had a nice coach?
Right.
Yeah.
The coach's job is to get you to excellence.
No, people are coming to you for a certain reason, and they have to know, like, you know what I'm saying? They're asking you for your constructive criticism, so they can't be.
Well, and then they also have the option to book a private one-on-one session too. So, and that's not as public, but.
Speaking of therapy, we know we had you in the Future video recently, and they had you acting as a therapist. At least, how was that experience on set and everything? Did you ever do any music videos before that, or?
I've never done any music videos, but I have done some stuff on TV. I just can't say what yet.
Okay, but, it's coming soon.
It's coming.
Okay.
I have a question. So there's a whole. Are you familiar with the Red Pill Society on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your take on that whole society? Like,
Red Pill. It comes from the movie The Matrix, and one, the blue pill, take it, fall back asleep. Two, the red pill, wake up and see what the truth is. I think it suffers from poor branding, because just like we said about 15, 20 minutes ago, what do women want? The truth. Mm-hmm. That's what we said, right? Women just don't want to be lied to. Neither do men, and men have been lied to. Men have been told, go out and become nice, chivalrous, write poems and all this other kind of stuff, make lots of money, and then the women will just flock. That ain't what it works.
So, I feel like the Red Pill Society is more so viewed by women as like a misogynist type society. Would you agree with that, or is it just you think it's?
Well, you said you feel like it. I think a lot of women feel a lot of things about what they don't understand. They don't understand.
Damn, I said, let me rephrase that. Hold on.
The thing is, like I said, women, I didn't make males and females the way they are, but women feel first. So you say something that they know is logically true, but if they feel some kind of way, the confirmation kicks in. Let me put it this way. Men have been told we have to figure y'all out from the time we this big. Mm-hmm. Y'all ain't been told y'all got to do nothing except be. So now, what the red pill kind of stuff is saying is men have things that we deal with and want to, and they're just truths. And if you want to be told the truth by men, then men want to be able to tell you the truth because y'all say you want it, but what it finds out is more often than not, you want your truth in a certain kind of way. So red pill is a blanket term for interpersonal dynamics, evolutionary biology, psychology, And I would say that most of the people who are making content under that umbrella um, may not be the best spokespeople for it. They, a lot of times they don't show themselves. They're hidden behind.
Uneducated too.
Well, and then kind of getting out of scope. But at the end of the day, what's the why? Why are you talking about anything? My goal was to try to help men and women get on the same page. And just like there's the red pill, there's a virulent misandrous side of women, men hating, bashing, who put red pill to shame. If y'all really, and we don't talk about that though, because the world is more set up to tell men what to do. But you got this entire thing that's been going on with women for decades, and nothing ever gets said about that. They're just venting. So
I think that it's like a fine line too between like men who just want to be honest and open about stuff that isn't talked about a lot and whatever, and then men who take that and use it to like just be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of people probably label that type of stuff and that type of content as, okay, you're an asshole for saying that, because there is some people who are assholes who do talk about that type of stuff. But I think there is some people who are just bringing up subjects that are different, that are, you know what I'm saying, may hurt people's feelings, but not everyone is trying.
I look at it this way, back when it was, I don't want no scrubs, nigga, you work for UPS, I need a soldier and all this other kind of stuff. Women have made millions talking about what they want, and it's called standards. But when a man just happens to get asked a question and he tells the truth, then we want to cancel it. Mm-hmm. So if we're gonna, do we really want equality? Because it doesn't seem like what it really seems as though is you want men to tell you you want men to tell you what you want to hear. And as long as you accept it, it's cool. And if not, people can find a reason to say, this person did such and so forth. But I think it's a lot of this kind of stuff gets scapegoated too. There's a lot of, well, they said this, and this could inspire somebody to do this and do that. Where does it happen? And it really doesn't happen that way.
So do you think that your YouTube channel it's geared toward mentoring men, right? Or men and women at the same time?
Well, the platform is a men's platform, and YouTube leans more male. Mm-hmm. No different than Pinterest leans more female, and Instagram leans more female. So, okay. What made the YouTube channel different was YouTube is more based for long form content, versus Instagram is much more visual, short form. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I look at, no one was doing what I was doing, but now there's an entire industry that's popped up. So there was obviously a need there. 3 years ago, there were no real relationship podcasts, not everywhere. And so that's saying that, as uncomfortable as a lot of these conversations are, when we got a battle rate that's under 30%, children out of wedlock childbirth of over 80%. Those are big numbers. And back in the 60s, they were ringing the alarms when it was a 30% out of wedlock childbirth rate. Where are we getting to? Where's the disconnect? So there's a need. And my thing is, all the relationship coaches, all the marital coaches, all the matchmakers, all the people who are supposed to know, where the French toast of y'all? Why are these people who are not qualified, red pill or women over here, why are these people over here having to do this? Where's the academia? Where are the people with the right credentials, with the right tone? And I'll tell you, just like the war on drugs, there's a lot of money in it to keep the system the way it is. And my concern is, who's at the bottom of that? Who feeds that system? Who benefits off of the fracturing between a group of men and a group of women staying individual as consumers that way?
So you think it's more of a marketing thing that's subliminally put into our heads, the way that we act when it comes to relationships?
We get a chance to make the decisions. I mean, look at 2019. Marriage filings were up, divorces were down. Marriage filings were at a 50-year high, except in our group. So, I think it's people have made money off of the fracturing. So if you can make money off of putting those things back together, fine. I mean, I don't know how many people are married in here, but modern dating sucks. It doesn't work. Dating doesn't work. But yeah, we keep trying to tell people to get. And what are we doing? This app, that app, this app, that app. Great. Clock is running. As a woman, you have shorter prime years than men do. So at the end of the day, who was really being caught up in all of this? The community is at the bottom. That's not hard to see. So the end goal is, if there's more information that's out there that understands that, you know what, maybe I need some work that I need to do on myself to become a better man. And then maybe there's some work that you need to do on your side to become a better woman. At least we can sit down at the table in good faith and recognize that we both ain't shit. And how about we versus thinking I'm the shit and what do you, I mean, we come.
No, I agree. I very much agree with that, and I think that's a very helpful thing for people that are young and in relationships and trying to find a serious relationship, because it's like, you can't say, okay, well, if you're not doing this for me, then goodbye, and I'm gonna find the next person. It's like, okay, if you actually are willing to both work at it and say, what do you need from me and what do I need from you? I think, like, you know what I'm saying, you want to build together. That's a huge part of being in a serious relationship.
I think a big part of it is because, you know, you have online social media that's showing lives that aren't possible. So you got guys in college sitting next to women in college with them, and the women are sitting there looking at it saying, I want a man who's making 6 figures. Most men don't make 6 figures in this country, and if they do, they're between 45 and 50. So when I look at a woman and says, I want this certain kind of lifestyle, I'm like, are you prepared to marry a 45 to 55-year-old man? Well, no, I want to be under 30. So you want to be under 30, making $300,000 a year, be over 6 feet tall, and make you tingly in your right places, and be around the corner from you, and like your dog, and like your mama, and possibly like your kid. Come on, man.
Okay. On that note, y'all. So we have a current event every episode. So for this one, you already have like a couple videos about it, but I just want to bring up the whole Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing. I know that you don't agree with it, but if your girl were to be like publicly disrespected like that, how would you have gone about that situation? Like, how would you have gone about checking him, or like, would you check him?
My girl or Jada Pinkett Smith?
Your wife.
My wife.
Yeah.
Well,
your wife.
First of all, I'd make sure it was disrespect.
Mm.
You don't think that what he said was disrespectful towards Jada?
I got plenty of pictures of Jada Pinkett Smith with short hair. Plenty. Back in the movie Low Down Dirty Shame, she had a short crop cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how is Chris Rock, who's running his own life, supposed to know why her hair is cut short?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see you. G.I. Jane 2 was one of the most popular, empowering movies for a beautiful woman, Demi Moore. Women went to that movie in droves. Maybe it was a compliment. Maybe she just didn't understand his sense of humor.
Also, he didn't write the joke.
He didn't write the joke.
Who did?
It was the joke
writers.
And it was and the thing is, so we don't, black women have a history of changing your hair. So Chris Rock is a megastar. We don't know what his intentions were. And as a man, here's the problem. Women, I often think y'all shouldn't talk about violence because y'all can't deliver deadly violence. We can.
Unless we got
Unless you have a weapon. But men can deliver deadly violence. I showed on my video, there's something called the slap challenge with one of the Paul brothers and Arnold Schwarzenegger, where men are knocking each other straight out with a slap. So he walks up and slaps the man, not even understanding if he intended to insult. So if it had been me, number one, no, I'm Will damn Smith. I wouldn't have walked up there and slapped somebody at the Oscars. I'd have walked behind the scene and say, hey man, Chris, let me talk to you.
Do you think it was a publicity stunt, or you think it was real?
It's real.
I think from, if I was Will, it's like it's been an ongoing thing. People are clowning him, time again. Stuff keeps happening where people are basically, you know, ridiculing him as a man because his wife is saying this and that about cheating on him, whatever.
What did they call that situation with August? It was called an entanglement.
Entanglement. And it's like, I feel like that was his breaking point of like, okay, if I don't stand up and do something right now, I'm basically a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what I'm like, okay, that's what I feel like made him snap and do something so extreme like that, is because it's like, it's been an ongoing thing. So maybe what Chris said wasn't that serious, but it was like a series of stuff coming before that made him like, I can't let people.
Two things. If it was Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he'd have kept his ass sitting. He'd have took that other. One more ain't gonna cause nothing. Because if it was The Rock.
He's like, I'm gonna get my ass beat.
Because he didn't slap him and then square up. He slapped him and walked away like a bitch.
Yeah.
He walked away because he hit a smaller man who's had a history of being
That's true.
bullied.
Chris is smaller than her.
He's smaller.
You said he has a history of being bullied?
Chris Rock, yes. That's the whole show. Everybody hates Chris
Oh,
Rock.
that's true.
He has a history of being bullied. So a 6'3", 200-some-odd-pound man walks up and slaps the crackhead Pookie. And if any man in here knows, you walk up and slap a man, especially a black man, the only thing that's worse than that is spitting on him. He slapped him and walked away and did this shit, man. Fuck that punk ass nigga. That's some bullshit, man. Because he was bullying somebody. If I went up and slapped a smaller man like that, would you guys think I'm a hell of a
That is very true. I wasn't thinking of it like that.
No,
like
you think wow.
Like, could Chris Rock really beat up Will Smith? I don't know.
Would you think I'm being a stand-up dude by attacking a smaller man with his hands behind his back? Number one. Number two, everything's building up on him. Then you deal with the source. Check your chick.
Yeah, I don't think it's anyone else's fault other than the way that Jada is, exposing all this information. Like, I personally don't think that that's cool as a husband-wife relationship to put all that stuff out there. But that's, you know what I'm saying? I do think that's
that's why I don't ever talk bad about any exes. We all are responsible for it. If she's crossing boundaries, I mean, come on, more and more stuff has come out. That August Alsina stuff came out because I think he sat down with, who did he sit down with? Angela Yee, and he started talking about that. It's supposed to be behind the scenes, and then they went to Red Table Talk, and Jada didn't even come out and say it. She had to be forced to say it. She crosses boundaries, and that's fine, but he allows the boundaries to be crossed and continue to go back. There's the latest thing is Instagram, where she got the camera in his face in the house. Yeah. So I don't blame Jada for doing what she's doing. I blame Will for deciding to stay there.
Exactly. It seems as if he's letting it just.
So if you're gonna let it happen, do not go hit Chris Rock
and get mad at him for it.
Because
I hear you.
If he thought somebody could, because the worst thing you can do as a man is to attack someone and turn your back. You are completely vulnerable.
Okay, so usually we end.
Usually bound to the nightclub. Come on now, you don't do that.
Usually we end off the podcast with a little game. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna play fact or opinion. Pretty easy. So we're gonna say a statement, and you're gonna tell us: do you believe that that's a fact or is that opinion?
Okay.
First of all, money is more important than fame.
More important, fact.
Fact. I feel like a lot of people care way more about getting attention than money, but in life survival mode, fame doesn't get you anything.
Well, fame can be positive or negative. Money is just a tool. So, and with money, there's a lot of money that's controlling this world that you don't know about. And there's a lot of famous people who can't sell T-shirts.
Yeah, that's true. And then the second one is men should always pay for the first date. Fact or opinion?
Yes.
Fact?
Fact.
I love that.
Why, that surprised?
Yeah, that honestly surprised me. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like with the.
I believe men should employ their women.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe you should I believe that if you're going to having a woman is asking to take on the responsibilities of a woman. You got to keep her the way you met her. And like I said, average men give women options. Men of value give women freedom. So it's like, if you're working for somebody else, you can turn those skills into work for us and make more money. We own it all. So the reason I said pay for the first date is I'm going to ask the right questions. I'm going to vet you enough to know that we should be able to spend time together anyway.
You're like, this is an interview.
Right, exactly. Because what's the point? Because why are we dating?
Right.
So if I'm going to be going out with you, my most valuable commodity is time. Mm-hmm. Not money, time. You can't get that back.
Right.
Sure. All right, last one is Drake is the best rapper of all time.
Best rapper of all time? Opinion.
Who do you think is the best rapper of all time?
Yeah. I mean, I like Drake, but I'm more of an old school guy. I like Rakim.
Okay.
I'm an old school Rakim.
And I feel like I didn't get to hear what you said about the Future video. How was that experience being on set on the Future video?
I think it's interesting because I come from not the industry at all. So I'm normally a consumer of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To see everything that happens behind scene, because I'm doing the job with so many different people, I can understand the allure. I can understand it's its own world. And it's definitely, I think a lot of people don't understand the intricacies behind it. I think they just look at it and consume it and move on.
Right. That's what I always think, like, living in Hollywood, and me and Grace have both been in a lot of music videos, seeing the production of everything. Like, there's so many people, so many moving parts and planning that goes into all the media that people consume. They see a commercial, they see a video, they're like, oh, they probably just think, oh, it's a camera and we're just filming what's going on. It's like, no, that there's literally so much that goes into everything that gets put out there. So it's good to be a part of it and see.
For sure, but even like our 30-second clips that you see us in, we was on set waiting for like 8 hours.
12 hours to be exactly. Being there for 5 seconds.
Yeah. My thing is, I look at all the people who are in that, and I'm thinking the people who own that. I'm not into content. I'm trying to make media companies, monopolies if you can. But the bottom line is, all that talent that's being used for this network, that network, this network, there's somebody sitting in the Hamptons on the weekend eating off all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
might as well be me.
Yeah, that's your plan. You're gonna be the one. Yeah.
As far as like next moves, stuff you have like in the works, can you speak on any things or projects you have coming up?
There's always going to be the show, but this year it's about self-awareness, separation, and balance. This whole thing has been about media, in particular. Black male media run by black men for black men, but you don't have to say black everywhere you go. Everybody else can control their image, and one of the biggest things, especially black men, we're not in control of our image. From D.W. Griffith's 1915 movie Birth of a Nation to the major networks, radio networks, TV networks, periodicals, magazines, our image has always been in the hands of somebody else, and that's our problem. We need to run our own media so we can put our own stories out there with our own spin so that we can put our opinions out there and we can fund it ourselves to where we don't have to always kowtow to this interest, that interest, and everyone else controls their own image. Byron Allen was once asked why he was buying up the Weather Channel and this and that. And he asked the guys, like, how would you feel as a white man if I was in control of the images your daughter took in that told her who she was? He's like, I wouldn't like it. Well, that's what we do. Our image is in everybody else's hands. So to this point, I understand why we got here, but why can't we control it? We damn sure are the talent. Who's making the rap albums? You got Future. How many M&Ms do you have? How many people on the field?
Right.
But who's in the owner's box?
Yeah.
Ownership.
So that's what you're moving towards in life? What's the end goal?
The end goal is media, because there's the talent portion, there's the infrastructure portion, and there's the distribution portion. It's already there, but the problem is we are all siloed doing our own little hustles, and at the end of the day, who's at the top of the pyramid getting eaten off of all of this stuff?
Right.
So I'm good at one part of it, but media is valuable because this is global. This is not just, I'm from Oklahoma, but I live in Atlanta, New York, LA. This is global. People watch the stuff we do worldwide. Right. Why are we eating it? That's it.
For sure.
I just thought of one more thing to say.
We're flowing now.
I feel like, I don't know if this is offensive or a compliment, but I feel like your lane could be compared to like Steve Harvey. You know what I'm saying? He does, think like a man, always wears a suit. You know what I'm saying? And he gives a lot of, I feel like at the time was maybe controversial advice on relationships, how men and women think. Like, would you compare yourself to him in any way or no?
I think most men would say we're in the same lane, but we're driving different directions. We're in the same highway driving different directions. Steve Harvey, he's a comedian, and the majority of his audience is female. So he's more geared towards the women. So there are times I'm watching him and I'm like, now Steve, good and damn well that ain't what you should have said, but he's got to do that. The thing is, Steve Harvey And then somebody speaking for men at the same level should be allowed to exist saying the same things. Mm-hmm. And that's the part where the media thing comes in, because look, y'all want to know what we think. And that's one thing that this has shown, that there is a market for men telling women what they think. That's an entire new economy. So instead of looking at it as a threat, that's new territory. Mm-hmm. So both things should be able to exist. And at the end of the day, men and women are consumers. Let them pick what they want. Exactly,
yeah. Whichever way they feel like. But do you think it's like people are going to lean towards whichever one makes them feel comfortable? You know what I'm saying? If women, if what Steve Harvey is saying, women are like, that makes me feel better about myself, so I'm going to go with what he's saying versus what you're saying.
Well, I think at the end of the day, what the lockdown showed us is people want what works. Mm-hmm. So we were all comfortable before the lockdown, but when I was in Atlanta and we were able to go out, I saw something I had never seen in women's face, especially black women. Fear. Because there was one toilet tissue, one bottle of water, and who was out there? Men with wedding rings and women without them. Because when you send them out into the dangerous world to compete for a limited resource, who was there? And this one woman was going by, and there was a bottle of water up there. She was trying to get it. She couldn't reach it. And the guy walked around, and she thought that he was going to grab it and hand it. He got it and walked on off. Because look, you ever watch The Walking Dead or anything like that? When the Book of Eli, that's survival. She had to deal with the fact that whatever school she went to, whatever her degree, whatever kind of car, there was one thing of water, and there was a man and a woman, and she couldn't do a damn thing about it. She can't beat him up, she can cuss, she can fuss, do whatever. She was without it. And she's looking around like, who gonna help me? I'm like, you don't need no man, right? That was the reality, and she was looking like, and then what did I do? I let the lesson sink in. Then I went back over around, and I was like, man, get that one back there water. And he looked at me, but he gave the water back. So why does it have to get that way? Why ain't her husband, her man going out there to get that water while you at home, not risking catching the lockdown thing? Because we've been told we don't need each other. Who makes money off of that? Let them make money off us being together. Let us make money off of that too. And then let the market decide. Okay.
I think that's a good summary and closing message of what you're trying to say, I feel. But thank you for coming out. And I feel like you said a lot of insightful things today that will teach a lot of people some stuff, get some thoughts thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to thank you for being on the episode. We appreciate everything. And on that note, y'all, we're going to end off this episode. Make sure you go tap into his social medias. They're going to be linked on the screen. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, comment your opinions on anything in this episode. We'll see you on the next episode. Tapping out.